Hello and welcome. I am Deji Barimasi. Early in the week, Nigeria's most senior military officer, General Lucky Rabo, as a chief of defense staff, announced a major breakthrough in investigations over the deadly terrorist attacks on St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, where over 40 worshippers were gruesomely killed in June this year. General Rabo said the military, in collaboration with sister security agencies, arrested some of the terrorists behind the attack. In an interactive session with senior journalists in Abuja, the CDS explained that the arrest followed a combined operation by military and DSS personnel at Eika Okehi local government area of Kogi State. He said the suspects, the majority of whom were arrested in various communities in Kogi State, would be paraded before the public in due course. Now, barely hours after the disclosure by the CDS, military authorities confirmed that two additional suspects also connected to the attack were apprehended at Omialarafa in Ose local government area of Ondo State. Speaking on now, the CDS said the military is working to rescue, speaking now on the train attack, he said the military is working to rescue the remaining victims as directed by President Muhammadu Buhari. Let's take a listen to the CDS as he speaks further on the arrest of those terrorists now who carried out the attack at that Catholic church in Owo.
Starting with the Owo church attack, we have arrested those behind that dastardly act. It was my intention to present them to the public, but of course, because of certain investigations were still carried out, I had to, on the last count, change my mind, and otherwise I would have brought them here for you to see them. And I'd like to say that in due course, you will see them. Not just those ones, but of course those who have been at the heart of very daring attacks, those who have turned themselves to men of evil to put our nation under the kind of desperation that we've had in the past few months.
Well, joining me on the program right now to discuss this further, I have Salau Hashim, who joins us from Abuja. Salau Hashim is a security expert. Thank you very much, Mr. Hashim, for joining us on the program. Let me start by asking you what you make of this arrest by the military, the arrest of those terrorists now connected with the killings in Owo.
Thank you very much for having me. I think, first of all, what we saw played out with that arrest was a product of intelligence. DSS picked that intelligence and arrest about 2 weeks ago, processed the information with the governor and some stakeholders within the state. They decided to keep it secret, use local content and local intelligence to drive in. The second thing that played out was synergy. Effective synergy between the DSS and the military played off. Information sharing. There was some level of collaboration, coordination, and that in itself provided the kind of breakthrough that we saw played out in that particular arrest. Although I must congratulate the Nigerian security agencies for, first of all, having been able to courageously, for the first time in recent time, demonstrate this sort of arrest of high-profile terrorism. The audacity is becoming very worrisome. The second one is the fact that they also presented these two high-level media platforms to suggest that they needed to sustain the issue of information sharing, which is one very key gap that has actually existed in a very long while. But my big worry is this. If you bring these guys in, and of course, you don't strengthen internal security to be able to also protect custodial centers, how well then are you not recycling criminalities and criminals? We have 9 prison breaks in the last 7 years of this administration. And obviously, out of 9, we have about 5,000 lifers on the run. That has actually surged criminality and people who engage in all of these terrorist attacks in various forests. So my point is, while we congratulate them on the one hand, secondly is how do you process the prosecution process within a very short period of time, and how do you guarantee that these guys who are also taken are going to remain perpetually in custody. So these are some of the dynamics that I think we needed to pay some very close attention to. But very importantly is that we must congratulate the high-level security crackdown that actually worked as a result of intelligence. And I think going forward, there's a big lesson that security agencies and institutions must learn. The ability to coordinate and collaborate, and how they can work more with local communities to be able to ensure that they unravel high criminality and crime. If you develop trust, public trust in the armed forces, in internal security, there is absolutely no way that crime are going to go unpunished or undetected, because the people who will help you prevent, they will help you deter, they will help you detect, they will also help you to profile crimes. But unfortunately, these are some of the gaps that we have in our own locality. And obviously, even the fellow who were housed those criminals, even when they came into town, I think there is also some level of intelligence that also led to his own arrest. Yes. And that is second. The third one, and I think the military and high security agencies should work on this. Kogi has been a training ground for ISIS.
Now, I was going to ask you how big a concern is it? Because it would appear this only confirms that it confirms what people had always feared, that Kogi State, it appears terrorists, these terrorists are gaining some kind of foothold now in Kogi State. We can clearly see with this development that they seem to have some very strong cells, cells now in Kogi State. And you have Kogi State also bordering Ondo State in the southwest of the country. How troubling is that? Because the fear is that they could use Kogi now as, a staging ground now to carry out attacks in the southwest of the country.
Absolutely, you are right, Deji. Kogi has become a training ground, a breeding ground for terrorism. And they have actually chosen that particular location because of the strategic location and the demography. And of course, because of the very huge expanse within the forest. There are sleeper cells in that particular state. And I think there is no deliberate effort, which I think now the security agencies, the DSS, must actually take as a priority to crack down, detect, and begin to crack down on those cells. Because Kogi is bordering about nine states, the southwest and the southeast, and that also has provided them an opportunity to use it as the base. And what we see very clearly playing out is that there is actually an export of terrorism from the northeast down south. And that also suggests that there is also a very weak connection within our internal security architecture, which the police is actually leading. And on top of that pyramid is the Nigerian police. But there is a poor situation with personnel capacity and capability to be able to engage that. The police in recent time have been seen to wrongly post personnel to VIPs and multinationals rather than actually using them for purposes of human security and protect the first order of the state that the constitution has actually prevailed or envisaged. There is a huge need, an urgent need for us to strengthen our internal security. And I'll tell you two things that we need to do very quickly. Sometimes we are very quick also to deal with the issue of internal security and the police, but the immigration has not always featured in our conversation. The responsibility of the immigration is to do alien control. That they don't do effectively, and where they do it, they have also commercialized it. The second one also is around the issue of border patrol and border management. And we have over 2,000 square kilometers of unmanned borders. Out of these 2,000 square kilometers, we have over 100 illegal entry points where all manner of situations have actually led to access of small arms and light weapons into the country. We have 11 million small arms in West Africa. New research, new data. What exactly are we doing with it? 70% of that number is in Nigeria. 80% of that number is in the hands of non-state armed groups. This is worrisome, considering the fact that we now have a new surge of returnees, those who have actually escaped from custodial centers, joining their colleagues in solidarity in the forest. Then it is very important that we put high alert, high priority on the kind of intelligence that we needed to do. We must withdraw personnel from VIPs and all multinationals and bring them into interlands and where securitization is actually needed. As it's well now, we must not begin to do the same thing or continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. We must be deliberate, we must be proactive, we must be articulate, we must bring out the ingenuity of us to suggest that we have one of the best armed forces and police on the continent. They are brave, they are very capable. Unfortunately, there is no capability plan. Unfortunately, we don't have motivation. Unfortunately, these men are actually just doing this not out of passion, but just for the purposes of economy. Right. If we change that dynamics, if we shift that narrative, tendencies are there that we are beginning to build an army that will respond within time, in record time, and ensure that what we saw in Owo is a typical of our Nigerian security system. They are very intelligent, they understand policing function, but how do we localize policing? How do we localize security?
But one thing is very clear from all of this. But one thing is very clear from all of this, and just how important this is, that intelligence is very key, because without intelligence, just as you have said, this arrest would not have been made. So going forward, what would you want to see in terms of strengthening our intelligence gathering apparatus, if you like, and to make it work for us?
I am a student of covert operations, and I know that inclusion, participation, community information, and the only thing that is missing within our security architecture is actually the people. We need to ensure that these people are also part of the entire process, part of decision making, part of the operations, and part of ensuring that they gather information and intelligence. We must actually put aside the arrogance of securitization and understand that the people have a very strategic role to play. You cannot gather intelligence without actually involving the people in the value chain of securitization. And that, for me, is one thing that we must do going forward. To do that, we must localize security. The Nigerian police force has a particular police order over 10 years ago that promotes and strengthens community police and policing. What exactly have they done with that from that up until now? I think it is important that we begin to revisit that. How well are we putting community structures and community governance structure to deal with the issue of security? That in itself must be, and also, even when I pick an intelligence, where do I report it to? All the simulation and response, a quick response and emergency, and be looking for 08099. You need an emergency number that is actually very quick, very precise, and of course, people can quickly relate with it. So we need strategic communication. We need a platform where people can actually domicile information, and obviously, we need synergy between the people and state security actors.
All right. Salahuddin Hashim, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks a lot. All right, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back, and now being joined on the program to continue the conversation on the latest development, of course, with regards to that attack on the church, or the latest arrest now of the attackers of that church in Owo in Ondo State, and now being joined on the program by retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, Austin Iwa. He consults for the British Council in Abuja, and he's a senior policing advisor. rule of law, and anti-corruption. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. How important is it that the security agencies have been able to make these arrests?
Yeah, this is very important. Considering that this crime took place just about 6 or 7 weeks ago, and it's important to the extent that the law enforcement agencies went into action immediately. I mean, the incident was very gruesome, and today we are happy. It gives reassurance to the communities that the law enforcement is working, and also it gives some kind of the beginning of a closure for the victims of this this attack in our war, that something was going to be done.
And for you, from what you have heard and the explanation given so far, especially that collaboration and all of it, what would you say made the difference in this case?
Well, law enforcement has always been collaborating with themselves, with each other. I mean, the police, the army, and other security agencies and intelligence agencies have always been collaborating. It's exciting that despite one or two differences in approach by these agencies, we still get results from them. It confirms that interagency cooperation can work effectively if there's a strategy, there's a focus, and there's a commitment by the agencies.
Now, I mean, as a policing advisor yourself, you look at the security challenges we're having to deal with in this country. In the aspect of policing, what do you think we need to change? Because you look at some of these issues we're having to deal with. Some of them are basically policing issues. They're issues that the police should be able to deal with and should not escalate to the level of bringing in the military into it. Where do you think we're going wrong? What do you think we need to change as far as policing is concerned?
Let me start by saying that over the years, police has been neglected. And whenever we find police wanting in specific aspects of their service delivery, what the government does is to establish a new agency instead of looking at the challenges the police is experiencing and finding solutions to how to create more level of professionalism within the force. What we see is, so by now in the country we have close to 11, we have multiple security agencies, almost 11 or 12 security agencies that are mirroring themselves. And as long as you keep neglecting one aspect, one security agency's capacity, this is what you get. You get a police organization that find difficulties. I mean, resources is a problem. Training is a problem. The police budget is about the lowest in Africa. I'm not talking of other welfare requirements that usually should help to create level of upgrade the level of commitment by law enforcement agencies. So there has been a neglect, not just in the last 22 years, but right from when we had military regimes, there seemed to be a tendency to make sure that the police does not work, to make sure that the police is not effective, so that the military will dominate the law enforcement environment. And here we are today. The military is suffering from years of neglect of the police. I mean, the military now finds that they are more or less a police organization rather than a military organization that is supposed to be focused on protecting the territorial integrity of this country. So government needs to focus now on the police. I understand that there is a police reform on the table. The presidency is working on a police reform, but we don't know when that's going to take off.
Do you think state policing that quite a lot of people have been advocating now, do you think it will make a difference?
Well, let me say that, let me look at it this way. On one hand, it's difficult for me to understand what is meant by state police, but because we are practicing state police already.
Oh, really?
In every state, yes, in every state, there is a quasi-policing organization that has been established by the state government that has been given entirely the powers of the police to arrest, to prosecute, to investigate, all the powers of the police given to security. Whether you are talking of Amutekun, whether you are talking of Hisba, whether you are talking of Lagos State Security Neighborhood Safety Corps, or you are talking of the one that is being established in Benue, the Vanguard, the volunteer corps in Benue, or all over the states, you have a security agency established by the government.
But so some people would say these agencies are not armed.
Oh, does arm define policing?
Okay.
Does the carrying of arm define policing? No, it doesn't. Police is essentially a law enforcement agency. The carrying of arm is secondary. It's not the primary responsibility of the police. I mean, for those of you that have traveled around the world, if you go to UK, you don't see any policeman with a gun. You don't see them with a gun. And yet you have violence there, but you don't see policemen moving around with gun. The gun does not define the power of the police. The power of the police, as defined by the law, does not even talk about the gun. The gun is an aid to effectiveness, but it comes in when it is necessary. So if you have a police organization that has all these powers, or a security outfit that has these powers, what are we talking about state police again? On the other hand, governors are complaining that they cannot control the police. So it's about control now, because that's what we hear them say. We hear them use the word control the police and give directive to the police. But the Constitution is very clear. The Constitution creates the police council where all the governors are members of that council. And the council gives the governors and other members in the council the power for administration of the police, management of the police, and supervision of the police. The only power not given to them is operational power. And that is what they are looking for. Power to give governors operation. I mean, for some of us that have been commissioners in states, what we say is that let the governors come out and say and tell us what directives they give the police commissioner, and he refuses to take. I mean, you cannot give me a clearly unlawful directive and expect me to obey. And then again, you need to think. I mean, state police is desirable, but the debate is not even about structure and policy. The debate is just about give us our own police to control. That's what the debate is looking at, like. But then again, for some of us right now, even though state police is desirable, for some of us, we do not think we are ripe for it because governance is based on strong institutions. But we don't have strong institutions in Nigeria. We have institutions that are dependent on the whims and caprices of governors.
No, but the concern of some people, and quite a number of them, is that when you have an insecurity challenge, you know, the scale that we have at the moment, that, look, community or state policing, however it's described now, could make a difference. That when you have policing at the local level, they could serve as the first line of defense. That what you have at the moment is not sustainable, so to speak, cannot make the difference in this emerging security challenge that Nigeria is dealing with at the moment.
Of course, it can make a difference. I have just said it. I've just told you that the police has been neglected. The police is the only organization that is nationally spread. It's in every nook and cranny of this country. Every village, hamlet you go, there is a police post. But what is the number? What number do we have? Egypt has a population of about 50-something million and 1 million police officers. In Nigeria, we have a population closing to 300 million and less than 300,000 operational police officers. In short, less than 200,000 operational officers. So increase the number of police officers, train them, restructure, reform. I mean, if we want to deal with this situation very well, reform the police, expand the police, and make sure every part of this country has the number of police officers that can manage the challenges in those areas. And some people even say that police officers are posted to where they are not they are not from, or somebody from the north is posted from the south and all that. But if you go to every state, close to 80% of police officers, the rank and file, are from that state. And then let's look at it this way again. We have multiple security from 1999 to date. We have more than, including state, both formal and informal security organizations. They are in the excess of 50. Has insecurity abated?
That's true.
It hasn't. The governors are focused on reactive rather than proactive. All the outfits that are being set up now are focused on reactive policing, reactive law enforcement, the proactive aspects of law enforcement, the proactive aspects of security, in terms of looking at the economic problems that lead people, that make people drift into crime, including social aspects, including dropout in schools. We are not looking at that. We are not increasing the number. We are focused on the symptoms of crime.
So you think an effective national police can make the difference for this country?
Yeah, we have a national police. We don't have a federal police. We have a national police. And the police, like I said, the police is the only national organization in Nigeria through the police council. It's the only organization where the board of directors are made up of all the governors. And so if the governors want an effective police, they know how to go about it, because they've been given the power to manage the Nigerian police. They've been given power to administer the Nigerian police and the power to supervise the police. So if they are interested in an effective, proficient, professional police, they know what to do.
All right. Retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, Austin Iwa, and we want to thank you very much for joining us on the program, and we want to thank you so very much for sharing your insights on our security challenges. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, that's how much we can take on the program this week. We thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.